previous session we have discussed about what are functions, what are modules, so how do you implement functions and different forms of functions, different types of functions, and what are all the modules, how can you implement the modules. Okay, so those stuffs we have discussed in the previous session. Okay, so in today's session we shall discuss about file operations, file handling functions in Python. Okay, so what is this file handling functions? So file handling functions are nothing but these are just functions which are used to handle the files. Right? So to handle the files, in the sense, user could able to perform operations with respect to the file operations. Okay, file operations means what? Okay, so file operations are nothing but reading a file, writing a file. Okay, so closing a file or deleting a file. So these are all the file operations. Okay, so Python supports file handling and allows the user to handle the files, and using these files we can, using these functions we can open a file, we can read a file, and we can write them also, and we can modify them, we can save them back. Okay, so along with these, there are many other file handling functions. Okay, to work with the files. Okay, and we shall discuss what are the basic functions we have in Python that we are going to use in future for learning any machine learning algorithms. Okay, those basic and important functions, file handling functions, we shall discuss now. Okay, how to handle the functions, files. Okay, so the concept of file handling is stretched over from various other languages, like, but the implementation is either complicated or the lengthy one. Okay, so file handling, in the sense, like, this is very much from simple sense to just opening a file, or from just closing a file. So from this sense to, from this concept to it can vary up to a complicated thing. Okay, but in case of Python, so any complicated task will be done in a easier way. Okay, and then what are all the file handling functions in Python, so that we can use them and to perform the file operations. Okay, the important file handling functions are open, close, okay, and then read. Okay, open, close. So these are the two important functions. First we shall discuss these two steps. Okay, so open is a function which is used to open a file. Okay, open a file in the sense we can open any kind of file, any text file or a word file or Excel sheet or any kind of file, we can open it by using the open function. Okay, and what happens when this function is called? So if the name we have mentioned as a parameter to this function is already present, then that file will get opened. Otherwise, whatever the name we have mentioned, by that name the file will get created. Okay, if the file is existing, so then that file will be opened. Otherwise, the mentioned named file will be created. Okay, ಯಾವುದೊಂದು ಫೈಲ್ ನೇಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ವಿ, ಹೆಸರು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿವಿ, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ sample.txt ಅಂತ. So if that file is already created, then if it's already present in the specified path, then it will get opened. Otherwise, if it is not created, if it is not present, so by that name the file will get opened. Okay, it will get created. Okay, then how can you use them? Okay, so first one is open. Okay, so open file name should be used with the syntax file object. okay, is equal to open function. So within parameter you have to specify file name and mode. Okay, so where file object is a variable which or the object which contains the opened file, and file name is the file which we want to open. Along with the extension we have to mention it here. Okay, file name along with the extension, and mode is what, in which mode you have to open the file. Okay, so then how many different modes are present? Okay, so there are three different modes to open a file. Okay, so one is read, other one is write, other one is append. Okay, so it will be represented by the character R, it will be represented by the character W, and it will be represented by the character A. Okay, so in these three modes we can open a file. So in a read mode, in a write mode, and in the append mode. So when the file is opened in the read mode, then the file is whatever the function file name we have mentioned as the parameter in the file open method. So here that file should be in accessible for the reading purpose only. We can't able to write and we can't even modify them. Okay, but if the file is opened in a write mode, we can able to modify the file. Okay, so append is also an extension of the write file, but okay, so we are going to append the another file, so we are going to modify the file. Okay, so that is how different modes of files can be used to work with the files. Okay, so um, R represents the reading operation, which will open the file in a read mode. W represents the writing operation, which will represent the opening up of specified file in a writing mode. Okay, and if A will similar to write, and it will going to enable us to write the file also. But what happens when the write option is already present, what is the need of append then? Then in such cases, then what the importance of these two functions is, write is a function where we are going to write a file. That means we'll open a file, for example sample.txt. That file will get opened, and we're going to write write down the statements or the instructions or anything, any data. So all those stuffs we are going to write it there. And what happens, and using append also we can write the file. But what happens when we use the write mode, when we open the file in write mode, after you started editing the file, everything will be replaced from the first line, first character place to the end of the entered statements. So until then everything will be replaced. But in case of append method, so whatever you are going to write, whatever you are going to modify or edit in the current file, open file in the write mode, so that will get attached at the end of the file. Okay, those contents will get attached at the end of the file instead of rewriting or replacing all the content. Okay, that is what the importance of these functions. Okay. And along with this we'll be having some more operations. Okay, some more modes so that we can use them while opening a file, while handling with the file. Okay, and those three modes are R plus, W plus, A plus. Okay, then what do you mean by that R plus, W plus and A plus? Okay, R plus is a mode which will allows the user to read and write the data into the file. So the previous data in the file will be overridden. Okay, R plus in the sense we can perform both read and write operation. Okay, but the previous data will be overridden. Even W plus is also, along with the write operation we can perform the reading operation also. But here also if the content is written, then all the previous content will get overridden. Okay, and a plus is to append and read the data from the file. Okay, this is r plus is what read plus write, w plus is what read plus write, a plus read plus append. Okay, so these are all the 6 different modes, and mainly 3 actually. Okay, read, write and append. So these are the 3 important modes where the file can be opened in these 3 different modes. Okay, according to the need. If you want to read a file, then you open it in a read mode. If you want to write a file, then you can open it using a write mode. If you want to append, then that means if you want to edit the content of the file which is already existed, and if you want to just add few statements or few instructions or few data samples into the file, then you can just use the append method. Okay, so this is what the basic open method. Okay, you can just see the sample of it. Okay, so as I said, the syntax is file object, and just use it like file. Okay, file object is equal to open file name, open parenthesis. Okay, I'll give it like sample dot text. Okay, with extension. Okay, comma more. I'll give it like write. Okay. I'll execute the statement. Okay, so afterwards just check it out here. Previously here observe here, my file is in documents Kavya NC online batch 3 here. So just delete this file. Okay, just a sec. So previously that named file is not present. Okay, so after executing this file, this instruction, this named file will get created. Okay, so if you want to close them, then just use the close function. Okay, file once it is opened, it has to be closed on some other time, right? So then if you want to close it, then just use the close function. Close function is going to close the opened file. Okay. So this is how a file can be opened. Okay, and I'll just show you by creating another file. Okay, so observe here, there is no files with .doc extension, .xlsx extension, .txt extension. Okay, so just create a file. Sample.xlsx. Okay, for write operation. Okay, I'll just create it. Okay, so let me check out where the file has to be created in the documents folder, that in the online batch 3. Okay, so online batch 3 internship. So observe here, sample named .xlsx file will get created. Okay, if the file is present, then it will get opened, otherwise the file will get created. Okay, so let me just create here a new file, and I shall check out whether the existing file will get read or write not. Okay, and go to new word worksheet, my file. Okay, so there's a my file named file here with the worksheet.xlsx extension. Okay, so let me just check out whether this named file can be will be opened or not. Okay, so it will get opened. Okay, afterwards if you print, so whatever the content which is present in file, so nothing will be present. There is no content in the file, so that's why it is not nothing will get printed. Okay, so whatever the content which is present in the file, so that will get stored back to the file object. So if you want to print the content, just print out the object. Okay, so that will get printed. Okay, so now let me create another file called as a sample.txt file. My sample named file. Okay, see here I'm going to write a statement like hello world, how are you. Okay, in the next statement, welcome to Untitled. Welcome to Abandrix Soft Lab. Okay, I'll just save it. Let me just read the file. Okay, so what is the file? Now I'll try to read the file in a read mode. Okay, my sample.txt should be opened in read mode, and if we just print it, my sample.txt so if you want to display the content which is read from the file, okay, so then just use read function. Okay, so it will get printed. Okay, so you can limit the number of words, you can limit the statements, you can limit the characters also. Okay, so that can be mentioned as a parameter here. Okay, so if you didn't mention anything, then entire till the end of the file, so it will get read and it will get printed. Okay, if you want to limit the reading quantity, then you can give it as a parameter. Okay, so for example, I'll give it like read of 4, so then first 4 places will be read. Okay, hello, so if we execute, then just a sec. Observe here. If we didn't mention anything, then everything will be read. Okay, so afterwards, what is the next thing which is present in the program, so that will get read. Okay, so every time read function is called, it will search for the next thing after the mentioned space. Okay, what is present, that will get printed. Okay, so if you give first like a read of 4, then first 4 characters will get printed, afterwards next 4 characters will get printed, afterwards next 4 characters get printed. Okay, likewise it will going to work. So if I want to read varying number of statements, then you can change it. Okay, fine. So this is how you can read a specified number of statements. Okay, specific number of characters from the file. Okay, fine. So file handling, basic file handling functions are two. One is open and one is closed. So open function is used to open the file of which is of any of the format. Okay, if you want to change the content of the file, then you can change it by using write mode. Okay, so the object for file is created, and for that file open method will get called and assigned, and the open method will assign the file opened file object to the stored into the file object. And in the different modes we can open the file. We can open the file in the read mode, write mode, and in the append mode. Okay, read write mode or write read mode or append read mode. So okay, all those stuffs we can do it by using the file operations. Okay, so file operations, and then next, once the file is get opened, it has to be closed at the end of the day. And once your work is done, once the file is opened and if you perform all the operations with respect to that file, then afterwards immediately close it. So okay, so if the file is opened and perform your file operation and close the file object. Okay, so this is how the procedure will going to happen. So afterwards, coming to the modes, if you specify the write mode, then the mentioned name file will get created and you can write it there. And if you want to read a file, then you can use it the command mode. Okay, or the file mode in the read mode. Okay, so within the same open function, how you want to open the file, then in a open mode, that means in a open mode I want to open my file. Okay, fine. Open file on the footer. Afterwards, if you want to read specific characters or specific lines or specific number of spaces from the file, then you can give it as a parameter for the function. And for the function which is used to read the contents of the file and to display the same or to fetch the same is the read function. Okay, so read is a function which is used to read a file statement by statement or character by character, or how many characters as per our wish. So we are going to specify the number of characters, and accordingly it will going to display, it will going to fetch, it will going to read. Okay, so this is how read function is going to work. Okay, now if in case if you want to, if you have opened the file in a write mode, okay, write mode ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಬಟ್ ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ನ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಲೈಕ್ ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಟು ದ file only and you have to open it and you have to write it. So there is nothing condition like that. So you can just make a use of write function. Okay, so write function, so file is equal to, so file dot write, so open parenthesis, in the text file just read. Okay, afterwards execute this. Okay, to execute this. So now if I read the same thing, if I open the file, so what is the file I have given? The statement is, so this is my file, is the statement which is present in sample.txt. So previously I didn't give any statement or a single dot in this file, but here after working with the write function, so we can give the values to the like we can have the contents in the file. Okay, so and we can check it by opening a file. Okay, sample.txt, sample, this is my file. Okay, so previously there is no content here, but after using the write function, so the content will come here and it will execute, it will overwrite the thing. Okay, so now try to use the write function. Okay, again Okay, so I'll just okay, so I'll just remove this. So let me open this file. Third, so that is my file. So this will get overwritten. Okay, if we just use the append method instead of write, observe here what happens. Okay, append method. So just use it like this. Okay, so now observe here what happens. So file open sample. Appended at the end of the file, statements which are present in the file. Okay, so that's the difference between the write and the append method. If you use the write mode, then entire content will get overridden. But if you use if you write it in the append mode, then the statements will appended at the end of the file. Okay, so that is how different modes of file operation can be used. Okay, different modes of file operations can be used. And different functions, which are different methods which are used for performing a simple and the basic file handling operations is how this is how it can be implemented. Okay, so next we shall see the some different modes of read function. Okay, so different varieties of different forms of read function. So we could have different read functions. Okay, so read functions in the sense we'll be having a varieties of read functions where it will going to read a character or a simple character or a statement or multiple statements. So all those stuffs. Okay, so what are the read sorry what are all the read function varieties. Okay, so just close it here. Okay, so then next coming to the read function varieties. So there are functions like read line. Okay, so within open and close parenthesis we have to specify the line number. So what happens when this function is used, like file object dot read line, so it will reads and returns one line from the file. Okay, and reads at most n bytes if specified. Okay, n bytes in the sense that means n number of bytes it can access per line. Okay, so if we have a lengthy line or if we have a short line, so it will expect that how many lines it should have. Okay, so you can give that name by using max. Okay, yeah. Read line reads and returns a list of lines. So okay, reads and returns a lines from function, sorry, a file. Okay, so we'll just give the file name here. Okay, so we'll just implement this thing. So I'll give it like read line. So at the beginning stage I won't give anything, so I'll just remove these statements. My sample.txt, I'll just read it. So both the statements are printed, right? So it will just read until the end of the line. Okay. Only one statement is present. So, there are two statements present in the first line, so those two statements will get printed. Okay, so open a file and observe. Okay, so it is my sample. Okay, so one statement, two statement, three statement. Okay, so now we shall execute it once again. Now observe, only one line you will get read. Okay, so read line function is going to read and returns one line from the file, mentioned file, at a time. Okay, so this is the function. Read line is a function which is going to read a line from the file. Okay, so next there's a function called as read lines. Okay, so read lines is a function which is going to read lines is a function so it will going to reads and returns a list of lines from the file. So how many lines it is present in your program, so that or in the file, so that will get printed in your read lines function. Okay, so if you just give instead of read lines, okay, just copy it, paste it. If I use like a read lines, then it will get printed total number of lines. Okay, so this is how read lines functions will going to work. It will returns it will reads and returns the list of lines from the returns list in the sense brackets, within the brackets how many lines are present, so those will get returned. Okay, so first one, second, third, so three list of lines from the file. My sample.txt will get returned and it will get printed. Okay, so this is how read lines functions can be used, and this is how we can read a varieties of we can control the things which we can read from the file. Okay, we can limit the number of lines, we can limit the number of counts, we can limit so everything. Okay, so how much we want to access, that much only we can access, and we can just use them. Okay, so for that purpose there is a library support, and we can just have a support it. Okay, fine. So this is how you can read a function, and you can write a function, and you can open and close function. So these are the four main important functions that you need to remember with respect to functions. So what are function with respect to files? So file handling functions. So file handling functions are four mainly, that are basically two. One is open and the one is close, one is read and one is write. So open, close, read, write. So open the file, which can be opened any kind of file. We can open a file and we can read the contents, and we can write the contents. So all those stuffs we can do it by using mm, functions which are defined in Python. Okay, so that is how the file handling functions will going to be explained. Okay, so if you have any doubts with respect to the file operations, okay, you can just ask me. So do you have any doubts? Okay, so so that is what all about the file operations. We can read a file, we can write a file, and we can open a file, we can close a file. Okay, using the different functions, and we can open file in a different modes: read, read, write, append. Okay, and write, read. Okay, so all those stuffs we can have using the file handling functions. Okay, so that is all about the file handling functions. Okay, so we have seen that how we can handle the files using like by opening a file, by closing a file, by reading and writing. At the beginning stage itself, I said uh, creating a file. So whatever, like creating a file, removing a file, opening the existing file, closing the existing file, opened file, just reading the assigning the permission to set reading option to the mobile, so sorry, to the file, and we can have write options, okay, to the file. So all those steps we can have. Okay, and so far we have discussed how to open a file, close a file, read a file and write a file. Opening a file will open you if the file named file is already executed. um, Sorry, if the named file is already executed, that means if the named file is already present, then we can just use them, give them a new if the file is not existed, then it will give you the new file, it will create a new file. Okay, and closing file, it will just close whatever the file is open. Okay, it will close whatever the file is open. So open file, open function will in turn will act like a creation, file creation. Okay, so file creation and opening will both the task will be done by the open function itself. But if you want to close the file and if you want to remove the file, it is not done by the same statement. Okay, so if you want to close the file, then close it like using uh, file object dot close. Okay, if you want to remove the file, entire file, then use the remove function. Okay, use a remove function. So object oriented concept dot remove. Okay, so using a remove function, we can remove the file, and remove in the sense we can delete a file. Okay, just try out this. uh, I'll open a file. Okay, we'll just open a file and we'll close the file. And before closing it, after closing it, so I want the file to be removed. So if I want to remove the file, then the thing I have to use is using OS library. Okay, so OS library means operating system library we have to use to remove the file. Okay, remove. So what's my file? It is my sample dot text. Okay, if I execute this, file will get printed. Afterwards, file will get removed. So if I check this folder, my sample named file is not present. Okay, now we'll check it for there is a file called sample my file. So we'll just give it like my file. My file dot. So what's the extension? My file dot xlsx. It's Excel sheet, so I'll just remove it. Okay, so I'll have executed it. See here, my file is get removed. Okay, now I shall remove sample. Sample will get removed. Observe here, sample will also get removed. Okay, so now sample dot txt. So this will, if I execute this, so that will also get removed. Okay, so this is how I can delete files. Fine. So these are all the stuffs which we can use for opening like basic functions which we can use to handle with the files. Okay, like one more thing is, if you want to remove the directory or the folder also, you can remove it. just change it like remove. Instead of remove, just use like os dot rmdir, remove directory. So if you want to remove the directly, I'll just create a new one, sample named folder I have created. So sample named folder, if I want to remove, just give it like sample. Okay, so the folder will get removed. Okay, so this is also you can do it by using the functions. Fine. Okay, so this is all about the file handling functions in Python. Okay, main functions are open, close, read, write. Okay, so open and close used to open a file and close a file. Read is used to read a function, read the lines, read the statements, read the content of the file. And write is used to edit or modify the file, open file. Okay, so that is all about the file handling functions in Python. So if you have any doubts in file handling functions, then you can ask me. Okay. Fine, I hope you understood the concept. So that is all what about file handling functions in, or file handling in Python. Okay, so next thing, a small concept in, and the last concept in the basic of Python is exception handling. Okay, so exception handling is the last concept in the core Python, or the basic Python. Okay, so if you know this much in a perfect way, and if you know all the aspects, all the properties, all the attributes, all the functions of so far we have discussed the concepts, so then you'll be knowing a little bit of Python. So you can confidently say that you can you know Python something. Okay, fine. So next the concept is exceptional handling. So what do you mean by exception, and what do you call it as when you call it as exception handling? Okay, so exception is nothing but it's a kind of error. Okay, so like whenever an error has occurred, or exception has occurred, so we call it like something has happened, some logical mistake has happened, or some error has been occurred, and we have to handle it, and that will stop the execution of the program or interrupt the execution of the program. So to handle that in critical situations, we should not stop the for a small exceptions or small errors, we should not stop the execution of the program. So in such situations, what we generally do is, so we'll use the exception handling techniques in any of the programming language to handle such exceptions which may occur after execution. Okay, so and those that concept itself is called as the exception handling. Okay, so when an error has occurred, and or exception has been occurred, so in Python we normally stop and generate the error message. Okay, so and these exceptions can be handled by using try and catch. Okay, so try and catch. So these are the two keywords, these are the two blocks which and one two important exception handlers that we are going to use to handle with the exceptions or the errors. So we are going to we are going to handle with the exceptions in Python using try and catch methods, and along with this some more methods are there, and specially used and commonly used exception handlers are these two. Okay, and what are these and how these can be used. Okay, so let us see that thing. Okay, first one is try. So try block is a handler which lets you to test a block of code for errors. Okay, so here we are going to try for error. We are going to try for a code, so whether this part of code will give you an error. Okay, so if you get an error for a try code, okay, for a block of code or some set of instructions, then we'll just handle with, if that error has been occurred, then we'll handle that using the um, except. Okay, so except block. Okay, so normally you might have used like a try catch named exception handlers in any other languages. So here the formal name will be like a try catch only, but like we used to remember the exception handlers by the name try catch, but depending on the programming languages, it will differ. Okay, like for the try method will always be a try, but while catching the exceptions, like if the in the try part, we'll just give the code, and for that code, if any errors has been occurred, okay, we'll give the code, we'll give the block of code, block of instructions, and if that block of code will raise any error or raise any exception, so that exception will be catched in a catch block. Okay, normally, and here that catch block will be different in different programming language. Okay, here it will be cached, the errors or the exceptions will be cached in the except block. Okay, so except block, if the error has occurred, just the normal or the proper information will be given here, and accordingly we need to understand that the particular error has been occurred. Okay, so and it won't stop the iterations, it won't stop the executions, it won't stop the execution of the instructions. It will just continue, like it will just executes like if else statements. Okay, if this has happened, then it's okay, otherwise just display this information and just continue with the execution. So in such cases, there is no chance of stopping or interrupting the execution of the instruction, so thereby it will going to continue to execute the code even in case of error has been occurred or the exception has been occurred. Okay, so let us just implement this stuff. Okay, so I'll just give it like try code, just print the value of a. Okay, so just give it like except. If print of a will give you an error, so then you need to analyze that what kind of error you may get. Okay, if name error has been occurred, then print the statement like variable a is not defined. Okay, so if other than this, if if not the name error, if not the key error, sometimes you may get key error. Okay, sometimes you might get the module error. So it's likewise you'll have varieties of errors, so you can just remember those errors, and you can catch them, you can handle them accordingly. Okay, so if you don't know the errors, just use the except statement and inform something went wrong. Okay, then what happens here is okay, then what happens here is, if the error has been occurred, then it won't stop the execution. Okay, so just if the error has been occurred, then it will just treat it like, it will just try it, and if the error has been occurred, it will catch the error, and if the catched error is same as the mentioned error, okay, exception, Okay, so if it is same, then it will execute the same block. Otherwise, if it is not, then it will execute the default block which without any name. Okay, so this is how we can handle the exceptions. Okay, when we have only one exception, we can just have only one except statement. When we have multiple exceptions, we can have as many as except statements as we wish. Okay, so this is how we can handle exceptions in a simple way. Okay, and we can also have else part here, like if nothing has been happened, so we can also have um, else statements for the exceptions also, like for loops we'll have the else part, for if statements as like for the if parts we have the else part, and for the exceptions also we can have the else part. So if nothing has matched, if the statement is not displayed, if the no errors is no error has been occurred, then you can have the continued statement. Okay, so hello world, I'll just use it like a proper statement without any exceptions. Can just give it like whatever the statements. So I'm going to give it like a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20, c is equal to a plus b. Okay, print c. Okay, so I'll just give it. Okay, try this error. If the error is occurred, then catch the error and display the proper information. Otherwise, just continue with the next block, next instruction, or next task. Okay, so this is how I can handle my errors. Okay. Okay, so this is one way of handling the exceptions in Python. Okay, so and another way is this is how this will create what, like it will try this code. If the code is creates an raises an exception, then it will hold, it will give an except, like it will just display the statement. Okay, so otherwise only it will just go for the else block. So there's also another case, like there should be like there might be a situation like no matter if the some part of the code will give you an error or not, so next statement should be continued. So okay, just we want to give the information like whether the error has been occurred, whether any exception has been occurred for this part of code, just inform what it is, that's it. So no matter if it is not like if the error has been occurred, then it has to stop there. So nothing like that. ಆ ಥರ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಟ್ರೈ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಎರರ್ ಬಂತು ಅಥವಾ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಈ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಂದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ನಾಟ್ ದ ಎಲ್ಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇದೇನಾದರೂ ಎರರ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಅಂದರೆ ಈ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಏನು ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ. ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಲೈಕ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಬ್ಲಾಕಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಆ ಬ್ಲಾಕಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಕೋಡ್ ಏನಾದರೂ ಎರರ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಂತು ಅಥವಾ ಎರರ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಏನು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಶುಡಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮೀ ಟು ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ದೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಸಚ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಐ ಜಸ್ಟ್ have to use statements like finally. Okay, so finally ಅಂತ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ಫೈನಲಿ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ನ ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ try block. I'll give a statement, okay, like print of x. Okay, we'll be having except. Okay, so I don't know the error, so I'll give it like print a statement. Something went wrong, that's it. Something went wrong. I just want to know that error has been occurred, that's it. So if no matter if it will the block has to be executed if regardless of the try block there is an error or not. Okay, so in such situations we can use the finally statement. So here I can use the another set of statements. Okay, Okay, these are the two ways that we can use to uh, um, handle the exceptions. Okay, so this is how we can handle the exception. Simple, using try block and try catch block. Okay, so there are four important statements that you remember, that you need to remember with respect to the exception handling in Python. So that those are try, except, else, and finally. Okay, so these are the four important keywords, four important blocks that allows you to handle the exceptions. Okay, so and try block lets you to test for a block of code for errors, and except block lets you to handle the error, and else block allows you to execute the code whenever there is no error. Okay, and finally block will allows you to execute the code so without bothering about the try or the and the except blocks. Okay, so this is how we can handle the exceptions in Python. Fine, so that is all about the exception handling and file handling functions in Python. Okay, so if you have any doubts in both of the concepts, you can just ask me. So these are the two important and final touch to given to the basic foundation for Python. Okay, uh, except file handling is how we are going to handle the files: file open, close, read, write, delete. Okay, and exception handling is exception or checking for a exception or the error, and if the error has been occurred, handle with some statement. Otherwise what it needs to take the action. So based on that thing, we'll be having two different ways. One is try except finally, another one is try except else. Okay, so these are two ways we can handle the exceptions. Okay, if we use a try except and else, then what happens if the error is occurred, then except block will execute it. If the error of the has been occurred in a try block, then is not occurred, then else block will execute it. But in case of finally block try except finally, if the error is occurred, then except will also execute and finally will also execute. If the error is not occurred, then finally block will only execute. That's it. Okay, but finally will be executed anyhow without bothering about the execution or the exception or the rise of any error of the try block. Okay, so that is all about the exception handling. Okay, so if you have any doubts in both of the concepts, or if you didn't understand any of the topic in both of the concepts, then you can just ask me. Okay, anybody have any doubts? Okay, so that's all for today's session. So today's session is completely of file handling and the exception handling functions. Okay, so just